The terrier weighed 9 pounds and had spent the first 3 years of his life convinced that the world was roughly the size of a studio apartment and that most of what happened in it required his personal supervision. His name was Fig, which nobody in the family could explain anymore, and he had opinions about delivery drivers, the neighbor's cat, the specific Tuesdays when the garbage truck came, and, beginning on the morning of the 14th of November, about what was happening inside the body of the 4-month-old sleeping in the bassinet in the master bedroom. Jocelyn was a home health aide. She worked with adult patients, mostly post-surgical recovery and chronic condition management, and she understood what medical attentiveness looked like in a body that was not human. She had worked with families who had seizure-alert dogs. She had worked with a diabetic patient whose cat had sat on the man's chest during every nighttime glucose episode for 6 years. She believed in animal detection. She would have told anyone who asked that it was real and documented, and not magical. She would not have expected it from Fig. It started at 3 in the morning. The baby, whose name was Daisy and who had been home for 4 weeks without producing any particular concern beyond the ordinary terror of new parenthood, was asleep in the bassinet beside the bed. Jocelyn was in the particular shallow sleep of a nursing mother, not quite unconscious, responsive to any change in Daisy's breathing pattern, ready to surface fully at the first escalation. What surfaced her was not Daisy. It was Fig. He had gotten off the bed. She heard him land. He moved to the bassinet, and she heard him circling it 3 times. 4 times. Then he was on his hind legs with his front paws on the edge of the bassinet rail, which was physically impossible because Fig was 9 pounds and the bassinet rail was 24 inches from the floor. And yet she heard the scrabble of his nails against the plastic, and she was sitting up before she knew she was doing it. She turned on the lamp. Fig had not managed to get his paws on the rail. He was pressed against the side of the bassinet, standing on his hind legs with his front paws against the plastic panel, his nose moving rapidly across the surface at Daisy's level. He looked at Jocelyn once, then back at the bassinet. Daisy was asleep, breathing, visibly fine. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Jocelyn picked up Fig and put him at the foot of the bed and told him firmly to lie down. He lay down. She checked on Daisy. Temperature normal at her forehead, color good, breathing even and somewhat irregular in the way that 4-month-old breathing is irregular and terrifying if you're new to it, and simply characteristic if you were not. She turned off the lamp and lay back down. Fig moved to the bassinet again before she had finished closing her eyes. Her husband, Kwame, was awake now. He said, "I don't know," she said. "Take him downstairs." Kwame did. She heard Fig on the stairs and then on the hardwood in the kitchen, and then nothing. She lay in the dark for 11 minutes. She could not have explained afterward what made her get up. There was nothing wrong. Daisy was still breathing, still sleeping, still entirely visually normal. But 11 minutes of lying in the dark, listening to nothing, had produced a specific quality of unease that she recognized from her work, the kind that came from information she had received but not yet processed. She picked Daisy up. She checked her temperature. Normal. She checked her color. Normal. She checked her muscle tone and stopped. The tone was slightly different, not absent, not the dramatic flaccidity that indicates a medical emergency. A very slight decrease in the resistance that a 4-month-old's body normally provides when held, a softening that was subtle enough that she would have missed it at 2 in the morning if she had not been specifically looking, and that she recognized immediately once she had named it. She called the pediatric nurse line. She described what she was feeling. She was told to come in. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. The pediatrician who saw Daisy at 4:30 in the morning was a resident named Dr. Osei, who had the particular quality of calm that residents develop either in their first year or not at all. He examined Daisy thoroughly and then sent her for an EEG. The results showed absence seizure activity, brief subclinical events that had been occurring during sleep, likely for several weeks, during which Daisy's brain showed the characteristic pattern of an absence seizure, without the dramatic motor symptoms that most people associate with the word seizure. She was not convulsing. She was not visibly distressing. She was having neurological events that were invisible to her parents and would have remained invisible for weeks or months without the specific complaint Jocelyn had been able to articulate at 4:30 in the morning. The pediatric neurologist who reviewed the case 2 days later told them that the change in muscle tone Jocelyn had detected was real and clinically significant, a subtle manifestation of the postictal period, the brief recovery window following seizure activity, during which muscle tone decreases marginally before returning to baseline. He said, "The question is what woke you up?" Jocelyn said, "The dog. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return." If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Dogs, the neurologist told them, register the chemical changes that accompany seizure activity in humans. A specific shift in scent profile that occurs in the preictal and ictal periods, driven by autonomic nervous system changes, metabolic shifts, and the release of specific neurotransmitter breakdown products through skin and breath. Seizure alert dogs are trained to respond to this signature. Untrained dogs sometimes respond to it spontaneously, particularly dogs with high prey drive and strong scent-following instincts, breeds like terriers. Fig, 9 pounds, had been circling a bassinet at 3 in the morning because he could smell what was happening inside Daisy's brain. They went home from the neurology appointment with a prescription, a follow-up schedule, and a referral to a pediatric seizure specialist. Daisy's condition was manageable. The prognosis was good. The neurologist had used the phrase "caught early" twice in the appointment, and both times Jocelyn had thought about Fig pressing his nose against the plastic panel of the bassinet. She thought about 11 minutes of darkness in which she had almost talked herself out of getting up. She thought about 9 pounds. Fig was asleep in his bed in the corner of the bedroom when they came home. He looked up when the door opened, checked on Daisy and the carrier, and put his head back down. His tail thumped twice against the side of his bed. Then he closed his eyes,